Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Alright guys, I'm back and it's Tuesday, March 10th, and it's 10:21 p.m. Eastern Time. So, what we're going to be doing tonight is getting into the news, and instead of separating it into virus and other news, I've kind of meshed it all together because I don't have time tonight to do two videos. And I did want to let you guys know that I won't be doing a video tomorrow. And that is because I have to take my parents out of town and it's a very long drive and to a doctor's appointment and back again. So I won't be able to post tomorrow, but I will be back on Thursday and I will try to have a double header for you on Thursday to make up for it. How about that? And I also wanted to update you on Xander. Xander went to the vet today and wow, what a cat. I can't believe that he was as well behaved as he was, probably because he's not feeling well. Anyway, the vet believes that it is a soft tissue injury, like either a torn tendon or you know, sprain, what have you. The left rear leg is swollen and he didn't feel any breaks. So he sent him home with some pain medicine and anti-inflammatory. And if he does not improve in the next 2 to 3 days, I will take him back and have him fully x-rayed. So he does seem to be doing a little bit better tonight. So probably because of the pain medicine. So I'm very, very much relieved. And thank you guys so much. You are the kindest, sweetest people ever. Now, I do have some people to thank, but I'm going to wait until the end of the video to do that. And we're going to just jump right into the news. And oh my gosh, I think, look, Xander's trying to, oh my gosh, he hasn't been able to do that in a few days. So that is just, oh, that just warms the deep, dark cockles of my heart. Anyway, let's go on. And I'm glad that he put in an appearance so you all could see him. He's a little bit dopey from the medicine, but he's doing much better. All right, let's get into the news because I know that's what you came here for. All right, Joe Biden tells factory worker, "You're full of shite," during a tense argument over guns. Now, you've probably seen this in the news. It's everywhere. It's in the mainstream media. It's everywhere. I don't think it was that big a deal. I mean, we know that he is suffering from some sort of mental decline. He's not the same person that he was even a couple years ago, and he's getting up in age. So I think that that's, you know, understandable, certainly. But on the other hand, I don't think, you know, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that he is not capable of running the country. Absolutely not. Even if he did have full mental capacity, he's still not of the moral turpitude that we would want for a president. So anyway, let's look at this. Key points. Leading Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden pulled no punches Tuesday in a testy exchange on gun policy with a factory worker in Detroit. A video of the argument surfaced as voters cast ballots in Michigan's crucial primary. Biden is now considered the clear front runner to clinch the Democratic nomination over Senator Bernie Sanders and take on President Donald Trump in November. Now, I don't think there's any question in our minds that he's not capable of having, you know, debates with President Donald Trump. Donald Trump will absolutely steamroll him because he's hard to beat in a debate. Really, he really is hard to beat. So I just don't see this going well for Biden. Leading Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden called a Detroit factory worker full of shite in a testy exchange on gun policy Tuesday as voters cast ballots in Michigan's crucial primary. Video shared by reporters on Biden's tour of the Detroit auto plant shows the former vice president surrounded by workers as he argued face-to-face with a man in a hard hat and an orange high-visibility vest. The worker accused Biden of actively trying to end our Second Amendment right. Biden immediately responded, "You're full of shite." So that is basically the exchange, but Biden was visiting with members of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers who are building a new Fiat Chrysler assembly plant. I support the Second Amendment, Biden said in the clip, but the Second Amendment, just like right now, if you yell fire, that's not free speech. I have a shotgun, I have a 20 gauge, a 12 gauge, Biden said. You're not allowed to own just any weapon. I'm not taking your gun away at all. You need 100 rounds? The worker then claimed Biden had said he was going to take guns away. I did not say that. I did not say that, Biden fired back, raising his voice. The worker said he had heard Biden make that claim in a viral video. And yes, indeed, he has. It's a viral video like the other ones that came out that were lies, Biden said. Don't be such a horse's ass, Biden added as the exchange grew more heated. The National Rifle Association quickly shared the video on Twitter. Joe, gun owners see through your lies, the NRA's official account tweeted. So, and here it says, Joe Biden got wrecked by a gun owner. Now, I would play this, but the video, it's very hard to hear. And like I had to listen 2 or 3 times to even pick up what was being said. So I don't think there's much point in playing the video. And you've probably seen it anyway, because I know the mainstream media was playing it everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but some of the mainstream media were. So anyway, that's it. And I don't think, I mean, anybody that takes Joe Biden at his word really has not been paying attention, because, okay, he's going to say whatever's going to get him elected. And yeah, if it was most popular to say, I'm going to take your guns away, that's what he said. Now, facing people that are right in his face, he says, oh no, I never said I was going to take your guns away. Yeah, actually, you did. So let's go back now, because there's more to get to. And let's look at this. Coronavirus, troops sent to New York containment zone. Now, this is very important, a very, very important development. So New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has announced a 1 mile, 1.6 kilometer coronavirus containment zone around a town of New York City. New Rochelle has seen probably the largest cluster of U.S. cases, he said. National Guard troops will be used to clean schools in the town and deliver food to any quarantined individuals. The death toll in Italy, one of the countries worst hit by the virus, rose to 631 as the authorities placed the whole country in lockdown. The latest increase in deaths in Italy, 168, is the biggest the country has recorded in a single day, and the total number of cases went from 9,172 to 10,149. So there you go. I just thought that that was pretty wild, that they were taking measures such as that. It says in other developments, a UK junior health minister, Nadine Dorey, says she's tested positive for the virus. Turkey confirmed its first case of coronavirus, saying a Turkish man had been infected in Europe and his family members were under observation. The World Trade Organization suspended all meetings until the 20th of March after a staff member became infected. UK virus cases reached 373 as a 6th person dies. Thousands of flights were canceled worldwide as airlines struggled to cope with a slump in demand. Harvard University asked its students not to return to campus from spring recess on the 23rd of March as scheduled, but instead to resume their classes online until further notice. All right, and what does containment mean? New York State has 173 active cases, the most in the U.S., and 108 of them are in Westchester County, where New Rochelle is located. New York City, 25 miles south of New Rochelle, has 36 confirmed cases of the virus in its population of 8 million. Mr. Cuomo said there would be no travel restrictions in New Rochelle, population 77,000, but large meeting points in the area would be closed. Schools, gathering places, and businesses in the virus hotspot will be closed for 2 weeks. Officials will also set up a coronavirus testing facility at a local hospital. It is dramatic action, but it is the largest cluster in the country, and this is literally a matter of life and death, Mr. Cuomo said, adding the numbers of cases were going up unabated in New Rochelle. You're not containing people, you're containing facilities. Well, you're actually containing people too. A synagogue is at the center of the New Rochelle outbreak, local media report. A man in his 50s who attended religious services is believed to be patient zero in the region. Around 1,000 people associated with the temple are now under quarantine. So, there we go. Let's go back now. And this also caught my eye today, that Alex Jones had been stopped and charged with a DWI in Travis County. However, since this came out, it has now come out that he has been proven innocent because he actually blew under the limit, just under the limit, but under the limit. And apparently he had been having dinner with his wife somewhere, a sushi restaurant. They got into an argument. He left. So he was probably having, probably either beer or wine with his meal, and he left suddenly. So I'm not excusing him at all. I'm really, really against drinking and driving under any circumstance. But, I do think that they are constantly trying to get him for whatever they can. Now, it's not important whether you agree with Alex Jones or not. It's just an item of interest. All right. Now, let's look at this. And appropriately named, Carly Q said, "Hell just froze." Yes, I'm quite certain it did. Let's listen to this. Let's get this back here. And okay, this is Gavin Newsom, and saying some very nice things about the president. Yeah, you heard that correct. He's saying some very nice things about our president. I don't know what happened to him. Really? Okay, let's listen.
President Trump has said that he would prefer if none of the passengers aboard these cruises landed on U.S. soil. Did he mention any of that to you in your conversation?
Yeah, we had a private conversation, but he said we're going to do the right thing, and you have my support, all of our support. Logistically and otherwise. So before he made those statements publicly, I had a private conversation with him around 4:30 West Coast time, and he said everything that I could have hoped for. And we had a very long conversation, and every single thing he said, they followed through on. So I'm just not interested in finding daylight on those statements, because every single thing his administration, and it starts at the top, including the vice president, has been consistent with the expectation that we repatriate these passengers, and we do it in a way that does justice to the spirit that defines the best of our country and the state of California.
Now, I have never heard him speak positively about the president, and he's basically saying, look, they've done everything that we would have expected they've done. And he's giving them kudos for the way that they've handled this. So I think that is something to take note of. And it, unless there's something else behind this, it shows that, Gavin Newsom, my respect for him, not that I had any respect, but okay, I've got this much now, because really, I know he doesn't like the president, and he did what was professional and right in the eyes, for the country, and didn't try to bring further division. I think that is very important to note. All right, let's go back here. Now, let's look at this. I know, you'll find this so shocking. revealed. Joe Biden's medical fitness summary released in December did not include a cognitive functioning test. His doctors omitted it. I can't imagine why, can you? Now this is from yesterday, so it's not hot, but it's still pretty warm. Let me see here. Joe Biden made the news again this weekend after forgetting his name in St. Louis and stumbling through his speech in Kansas City, where he told the crowd, "We cannot win this re-election." Well, talk about a Freudian slip. It was another embarrassing and concerning display by Joe Biden. His campaign has been filled with verbal gaffes for months now. Let's see. Let's play this, just for kicks and giggles.
If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330 and help me in this fight. Thank you very much.
I don't know if that would be called forgetting his name. Anyway, it is so bad that even Democrats can't ignore it. Glenn Greenwald, the steadfast, willful refusal of Dem political and media elites to address what is increasingly visible to the naked eye, Biden's serious cognitive decline, is frightening indeed, not only for what it portends for 2020, but what it says about the ease of snapping them into line. All right. It says, what's fascinating is that in these replies, not a single Biden supporter argued that he's not actually sundowning and it's being blown out of proportion. Even and especially his supporters know it's happening. This is frightening. Yes, indeed. That's how much some people hate Donald Trump, that they can clearly see a man is in serious cognitive decline, but still try to glom onto him. Oh, be our president, be our president. It is very scary. The Biden campaign released a 3-page summary on Joe Biden's medical history back in December, in which his doctor declared he is a healthy, vigorous 77-year-old fully capable of taking on the role of president, but the only test that was not performed was a cognitive functioning test. Here is what Stuart J. Olansky, a professor of public health at the University of Illinois at Chicago, who analyzes the longevity of presidents, said about cognitive abilities after reviewing the report. The only test that hasn't been done is the cognitive functioning test, Olansky said, or added, but the fact that he's on the campaign trail and meeting a rigorous travel and meeting schedule probably would suffice as a replacement for the formal test for cognitive functioning. No, it wouldn't. He said that cognitive tests are typically not required unless problems are detected. Would you not say that problems have been detected? Problems. What, does he need to have like a flashing light stuck on his head? What a coincidence. The doctors did not perform a cognitive test because they know he would fail the test. Of course he would fail the test. It's obvious. And I used to think that he was playing just so that maybe he could get out of whatever legal trouble he's in. But I don't think so anymore. Because you can see it in his eyes where he's like, for a minute, and I've seen that in Nancy Pelosi's eyes as well. It's like the horror of, what's next? What do I say? So, yeah. And I feel bad because I know that they're getting up in age, and it happens, and it's not a big deal unless you're running for president. Then it's a big deal. All right. Or Speaker of the House, then it's a big deal. Okay. Well, let's go back now, just because we can. And here we go. Let's look at this. All righty. It says, get this one. So in California, their DMVs accidentally changed over 100,000 voter registrations from Republican to Democrat. Oh, my gosh. I've been up for 2 nights straight with my cat, so boy, I'm looking forward to hitting the pillow tonight. Yeah, so they changed 100,000 voter registrations from Republican to Democrat. They also accidentally registered thousands of illegal aliens to vote. They can't win without cheating. Pathetic. Oh, I would say that again and again and again. And let's listen here.
Are still concerned about a major issue facing the state, voter fraud. California has long been plagued with troubling reports of election.
Okay, this is way too low for any human being to hear it. I don't even know if dogs could hear this. But anyway, I think that we can skip that because we already know what's happening there. So, all right, let's go back over here. Ed, I know some of you are yawning because you can see me struggling. Isn't that funny how somebody yawns and you won't even be thinking you're tired, but all of a sudden there you're yawning. Okay, Mark Dice, you mean the man you call a huge racist at the debates? So you're supporting a racist? And this is in response to Kamala Harris, who said, getting ready to go on stage in Detroit with my friend Joe Biden. Oh, he's your friend now. Great, great, great. So Mark Dice, of course, you know, he's not going to let that lie. And he says, you mean the man you called a huge racist at the debates? So you're supporting a racist? Well, it appears she is. Yeah, I guess it's whatever's good for her career, not her convictions. Because these people don't have any real convictions of their own. They just feign outrage at things because they think that, you know, it'll bring them votes or whatever. All right, let's look at this. John Kerry campaigns with Joe Biden's rich brother, tells Floridians Trump should worry about going to the big house. Right. Now, this is from today, so it's hot and fresh, just like Krispy Kreme donuts. And John Kerry told an angry mob of Democrats on Monday that a year from now, Donald Trump will be worried about going to the big house. Well, we'll see about that, John Kerry. We'll see about who's in the big house. Democrats have a fantasy of punishing Trump for some made-up crime they will think of later. Isn't that the truth? Yeah, they want to punish him for a crime. They just haven't come up with the crime yet. Kerry was speaking to a group that included Joe Biden's brother, Frank Biden, who made a lucrative career off his brother's name and position. TC Palm reported John Kerry addressed a packed house Monday morning at a private event in Boca Raton, urging supporters of Democratic presidential hopeful Joe Biden to keep working to get the vote out right up until the last minute. Nothing is automatic in politics, Kerry said, reminding the crowd of his own ill-fated presidential bid 16 years ago. This is not to be taken for granted. You have to make phone calls, sign up, and do the work. After losing the 2004 election to incumbent President George W. Bush, Kerry, then a former Massachusetts U.S. Senator, went on to serve as Secretary of State under President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden. Now, in advance of the March 17th Florida primary, Kerry is supporting Biden with a trek Monday through South Florida that included stops at new Biden campaign offices in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. About a year from now, Joe Biden will be moving into the White House and Donald Trump will be worried about if he's going to the big house, Kerry told a feisty crowd that included Joe Biden's brother, Frank Biden. Well, you know what? They all seem to hang together, don't they? The criminals. Have you noticed that? They do. They cluster together like snowflakes. Really. It's very rare you'll ever see one snowflake on the ground. I mean, they cluster. That's what these guys do. They all cluster together. I don't know. Cling to each other for warmth. I don't know. Anyway, let's go back now. And this is some very, very good news that I know you will be happy to hear if you have not already. Matt Gaetz tests negative for COVID-19. Nasty liberals hit the hardest. Yeah, because the liberals really wanted him to have it. No, really, they did. Now, this is from today. To the disappointment of leftists everywhere, Representative Matt Gaetz announced on Tuesday he tested negative to the coronavirus. Representative Gaetz self-quarantined after he had contact with a coronavirus patient at CPAC this year. And here is his tweet. It said, I've just been informed that my COVID-19 lab result was negative. In an abundance of caution, I will remain under self-quarantine at the advice of medical professionals through Thursday at 2 p.m. I continue to feel fine and show no symptoms. And here he said, we appreciate the great folks working in the United States and around the world to combat this virus. All right, so that is good news, because that's not somebody we want, to lose or even to be out sick for an extended period of time. We need him. All right, and this says the radical left was hoping otherwise. No doubt they were, because in response to this tweet by Representative Matt Gaetz that his test has been found negative, this person, Mark Stern, said, maybe you can remain in self-quarantine in Wuhan, China. Nice. And in response to the same tweet that he's negative, his lab results were negative, RIP GOP said, oh, too bad. And then they added a meme or whatever. Republicans say Dems can't run the government. Reality shows the opposite. Republicans are a disaster. Well, I don't know what reality he's looking at. Certainly not my reality. I see the U.S. as doing better than ever. But, I was going to say maybe that's just me. But no, it's not just me. There's statistics that prove that. All right. Well, let's go back. I wouldn't expect them to wish him well. Anyway, let's look at this. Absolutely. And again, this is from today, hot and fresh. 2018 video has surfaced of the governor of California, Jerry Brown, spilling the beans on how the left really feels about President Trump. Brown isn't the only one who has openly called for getting rid of President Trump because he's messing up the plan for the New World Order. Now, we knew that, right? Absolutely, we knew that. But here, they're admitting it. George Soros said that Trump is a danger to the world and that the fate of the world is at stake. In 2020, Soros and Brown are not alone in their dislike for the president and their feelings that he must be taken out. According to Brown, President Trump is messing up the plan for the New World Order, so something's got to happen to him. In the interview with MSNBC's Andrew Mitchell, Brown rants about President Trump. We never had a president who was engaged in this kind of behavior. I mean, he's not telling the truth. He keeps changing his mind. He's sabotaging the world order in many respects, Brown added. Wow. It's unprecedented. It's dangerous. And hopefully this election is going to send a strong message to the country. The Democrats will win. Something's got to happen to this guy, because if we don't get rid of him, he's going to undermine America and even the world. So let's listen here.
As we've been reporting, rescue operations are still underway in the Carolinas. Incredible flooding there. Close to 1,000 water rescues have been made in North Carolina alone. The catastrophic flooding making travel impossible in some areas, and nearly 15,000 people are already staying in 150 shelters across the state. California's Governor Jerry Brown announcing late Friday, in the face of global warming, of climate change, and of what he calls the lack of a federal response, that the state of California is going to send its own satellite into orbit to track the progress of climate change, which of course is causing hurricanes to be stronger and more severe. I talked to Jerry Brown at his Global Climate Action Summit late Friday, a gathering of state, local, and world leaders.
We're in the midst of hurricanes and the aftermath of hurricanes, and you still have the President of the United States denying the science of climate change. How do you counteract that?
Well, first I want to say it's really extraordinary that the President can deny science like that, but he's done so many other what's the word? I didn't even have an adjective. So it's bad, and how we counteract it is with this climate summit. With normal people respecting the truth and communicating that with other normal people and combating the President of the United States in what are lies, distortions, and quite frankly, bizarre behavior. So we have to keep at it, and I'm glad you gave me a chance to answer your question, because we can't say it enough. The president is just wrong.
The hurricanes are more severe. The wildfires are more severe. The storm surge is worse because sea levels are rising. Talk to me about what we are physically experiencing here in the United States and around the world.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this because I just realized it's 6 minutes and 44 seconds, and I think that I don't want to hear this guy droning on and on and on. But he did say these things, and I don't know why any of these people are not held to task for saying things like, oh, something's got to happen to him. Well, if you say something's got to happen to somebody, he didn't say, oh, somebody's got to get him out, or we have to get him out of office. No, he says something's got to happen to him. That, to me, is a threat. If somebody said that to me, oh, something's got to happen to you, I would take that as a direct threat, and I'm sure you would too. It's different saying, oh, that we got to get this person out of office, but something's got to happen to him. I'm not liking that rhetoric at all. All right, and we're going to go back now, and we're going to, Hunter Biden, back in the news. Hunter Biden uses coronavirus to avoid Arkansas child support hearing. Now, what kind of a ne'er-do-well, keeps avoiding paying child support when he has been making money, pulling it in hand over fist? It's probably in some Swiss bank account or maybe in the Cayman Islands or something. He's got it. He's got it. I mean, it didn't just go poof and gone. I'm sure he spent a good portion of it on cocaine and probably strippers. But anyway, yeah. Any new court filing from lawyers for Hunter Biden uses the coronavirus as an excuse for why Biden cannot show up for his hearing in Arkansas child support lawsuit. He previously claimed he couldn't make it to the deposition until April because he's too busy. Oh yeah, he's such an important man. Hunter Biden has been trying to avoid going to Arkansas for the child support lawsuit for months now. He was recently warned by the presiding judge that unless his hair is on fire, he must show up for the scheduled court deposition. Well, he thinks he's above the law, just like his father, right? I mean, if you're raised that way, and obviously Joe Biden isn't much of a father if he, turns a blind eye to what his son was doing and gets his son a job that he really didn't deserve. He had no experience for whatsoever and got paid to do nothing. So, yeah, what kind of a father is that? Not a very good one. And obviously, Hunter himself is not a good father either, or he wouldn't be in this situation, and he would be doing what needed to be done to support his child. So, Biden's lawyer argued it is unsafe for the defendant to travel as travel restrictions have been implemented both domestically and internationally, particularly on airlines due to the coronavirus. Setting aside personal endangerment, defendant reasonably believes that such travel unnecessarily exposes his wife and unborn child to this virus. California, in particular, has been the site of numerous reported cases of exposure. Well, his new wife and unborn child don't have to be there. I mean, that's ridiculous. He can go by himself, or does he need them to hold, does he need his new wife to hold his hand while he's there because, he's such a baby. The Washington Free Beacon reported that Biden was ordered to appear at the court tomorrow, Wednesday, March 11th, for a deposition in the ongoing child support case. Defendant requests continuance of the hearing as he is unable to attend due to his wife's due date in 2.5 weeks or less and risks involved with travel. And yes, I would say, if his wife is due in 2 weeks, that she probably shouldn't travel. But she doesn't have to go. Our previous report on Hunter Biden's paternity case, the saga of Hunter Biden's continued failure to provide financial documents in court to the mother of his child, continues. London Alexis Roberts, 28, filed a paternity suit against Hunter Biden last May, and he's still stalling on the release of documents related to his finances. The judge in the paternity case recently threatened Biden, see below, that unless his hair is on fire, he'd better show up for his court date. Yeah, because if that was you or I, which it really couldn't be me because I can't father a child, but, you know, I think you know what I mean. If it was you or I, the book would be thrown at us. Anyway, the Washington Examiner reported on the latest from court regarding Biden's refusal to submit court records, and said because Biden had not supplied her with a copy of his 2017 and 2018 personal tax returns, along with a long list of other items, according to Arkansas Online. Clint Lancaster, her lawyer, said Biden had continued to flaunt the orders of this court by failing to answer discovery, comply with court orders, and provide his financial information. Biden allegedly failed to disclose all financial institutions used by him or a business he owns or controls, a list of all companies he currently owns or in which he has ownership interest, and the state in which those companies are incorporated, a list of all sources of income for the past 5 years, a list of all employees for the past 5 years, tax documents for companies he owns, and a copy of deeds to properties that he owns or in which he has an ownership interest. Previous report on Hunter Biden's refusal to submit financial records. The judge in Hunter Biden's paternity suit is fed up with excuses from him and is warning Biden to show up for a deposition in March. He had claimed he couldn't make it to the deposition until April because he's too busy. The judge was not buying his excuse and said he needs to show up unless his hair is on fire. According to Arkansas Online, Circuit Judge Holly Meyer made her point during an afternoon conference call. He needs to make himself available, and unless his hair is on fire, he needs to be in Arkansas, and he needs to be in a deposition. I'd like to see his hair on fire, actually. I'm just saying. Hunter Biden is the defendant in a paternity suit filed by London Alexis Roberts, who met him when she was a stripper at a D.C. nightclub. After Roberts had a baby, Biden took a DNA test that proved he is the father of her toddler. Roberts sued for child support, but Biden has delayed supplying full financial records. Our previous report on Hunter Biden's resistance, Hunter Biden has finally agreed to pay monthly child support retroactive to 2018 for a child he had with a DC stripper. This temporarily ends the court battle Biden was having with the mother of his fourth child. He denied the paternity until DNA testing proved he's the father of the 17-month-old child. Fox News reports that after the judge in his Arkansas paternity case ordered him to appear in person for a hearing to explain why he couldn't be held in contempt for not turning over financial records, he agreed to pay child support. The judge has given Biden until March 1st to turn over financial records to the court and has said she might adjust the amount of child support payments accordingly. He can't pay child support, but Biden is renting a $12,000 a month house in the Hollywood Hills and was just seen at the Waldorf Astoria getting out of his $87,000 to $130,000 Porsche. Yeah, he's really hard up. Poor boy. Poor boy. Hunter Biden is expecting his fifth child with a new wife after recently being confirmed as the father of a baby he had with an ex-stripper after a DNA test. Okay, we've already established that. Hunter Biden's behavior is outrageous, and his refusal to take financial responsibility for his fourth child is reprehensible. What's outrageous about Biden being photographed by Page Six with his wife, Melissa Cohen? Well, they're leaving the Waldorf Astoria and they're getting into his Porsche. Yeah. Well, that doesn't look like... Oh, yeah, that is him, actually. He hopped out of a very expensive Porsche Panamera to have lunch in the very posh Waldorf Astoria, but he's refusing to cooperate with the mother of his child, who just wants child support. Biden has claimed he has significant debts because of his divorce in 2017. The New York Post is reporting that Hunter Biden blew a deadline to hand over financial materials in Robert's child support case in mid-January. He now must appear in Arkansas court and explain why he shouldn't be held in contempt. Throw the book at him. Well, I'm not going to get into the rest of this because that's enough about Hunter Biden. But really, what's wrong with that man? Well, look at his father. I guess that kind of explains part of it. But there comes a point when you have to grow up and take responsibility for yourself, so his father isn't totally to blame. Don't tell me he doesn't know what's right and wrong. All right. Well, that's the wrong, hang on here. We're going to go back. And there we are. Now, you know what? I included this because so often it's all bad news, and this is just a little good news to warm the deep, dark cockles of your heart. Whatever that is. All right, let's go here. Kind-hearted police officer uses own money to buy first birthday cake for little girl. Now this is from today. A pair of police officers from Gwinnett County, Georgia, quietly helped a young mother who was trying to get home to celebrate her one-year-old daughter's birthday on a cold January night. Acts of kindness that reach the public eye can sometimes cast doubt or negativity over a person's motive, suggesting that perhaps selfishness and a desire for recognition was the true reason for a helpful gesture. A heartwarming interaction of pure kindness between two Gwinnett County police officers and a young family went unknown and would probably have never come to light had it not been for a recent audit of police body camera video footage. According to the Gwinnett County Police Department, a supervisor happened upon this sweet story months after it had taken place during a random audit. Excuse me. So let me see. Hopefully we can see this.
How you doing, ma'am? Where you trying?
Oh man. It's just sitting and spinning, sitting and spinning. Oh, come on. We want to see something good, man. Okay.
You want to ride? Come on. You're very welcome.
Today is my daughter's birthday. She's turning 1.
Oh, really?
And I want to give her a cake. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. Hey, come here. I'll give you my credit card. Go get her a birthday cake with a #1 candle.
Let's see if they got any in there.
Okay. How your baby just turned 1 today?
Yes.
Boy or girl?
A girl. You want a cigarette?
Yeah. Actually, we got a little surprise. So just give me a second. Awesome. Thank you, Officer Wilson.
No problem.
Oh, wow.
There's her cake.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can we say hi?
Yes.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
Can I give you a hug? Hi. How are you? Oh, big hugs. Hi, Tiara. Is this your birthday?
Yes.
You're so cute. Hi.
That's my mom.
How are y'all doing today? Whoa. See, Mom doesn't do that. There we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tara. Happy birthday to you. Yay! Gotta blow real hard. Break. Yay!
I just think that really, really touches my heart, because so often we hear about the actions of police officers that, you know, are not proper or not right or whatever. And here's two men doing the right thing, and with their own money. And this just really warms my heart. It really does. So they deserve a shout out for that. And let me see if it gives the names. During a random audit of police body cams, a supervisor found this interaction between Sergeant Nick Boney, Officer Jimmy Wilson, and a woman whose daughter had just turned 1. A Twitter post from the department read, "The woman was holding a bouquet of balloons trying to get home to her family on a cold night." The footage began with the moment Boney and Wilson noticed a woman standing alone on a street corner with a clutch of balloons in her hand. The night was dark, the air was cold, and the two officers approached the woman to find out if she was okay. The officers learned the balloons were for the woman's baby girl, who was celebrating her first birthday. The woman was trying to get home to her family, but still wanted to get a cake for her daughter. Boney, ready to help, quickly handed his credit card to his partner and asked him to purchase a cake for the baby with a number 1 candle on top. Wilson obliged and was soon seen carrying the cake into the woman's house, where he and Boney met the adorable birthday girl. The kind-hearted officer stayed for a quick party, singing happy birthday to the child along with her family and presenting her with a delicious cake. The two officers may not have been seeking recognition for their kindness, but have inadvertently shown the hearts of so many police officers around the country who desire to protect and serve their local communities. Positive and compassionate interactions between police and civilian happen every day. This particular case just happened to get notice. And that is true. There's a lot of good police officers out there who do the right thing every single day, and don't get noticed, and aren't wanting to be noticed. They're just doing their jobs, and they chose that career because they believe in it. And I just think that this is a wonderful story, and I thought it had to be told. So let's go back here, and we're going to look at this. And Biden was just introduced as the next vice president of the United States. This entire campaign is a dumpster fire. Oh, yeah, you can say that again. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Joe Biden was introduced to a group of supporters as our next vice president. I'm sorry, it's not funny, but it is. Okay, the person who introduced Joe Biden at his event just now in Ohio said, "I'm grateful for his leadership and ready and determined to do whatever it takes to make him our next vice president." This is a pattern. Does the Biden campaign not know what office Joe is running for? I don't even think he knows. I mean, at first he said he was running for Senate, and I don't know. But let's listen.
"I am grateful for his leadership and ready and determined to do whatever it takes to make him our next vice president. I bring you our next president, former Vice President Joe Biden."
Well, she did later say, you know, next president, but still, it just adds to the overall whatever. It's just been one thing after another. "I'm grateful for his leadership and ready and determined to do whatever it takes to make him our next vice president," the woman wearing a Moms Demand Action t-shirt said. But this is a little bit biased because they've left out what she said right after that, which is, you know, ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States. So I think it was just a gaffe on her part, definitely. And it says, moments later, she said the former vice president would be our next president. Okay, so it's not so biased because it did include that. It said this piece originally appeared on the AmericanMirror.com and is used by permission. So there you go. All right. Now, I'm going to skip over to here where I have some news on the CV. So I'm going to go over some of these headlines really quickly because you know, there's too much here. I mean, this would take probably a video and a half just to cover what's on this page. But I am going to, because we're not right to our time yet, so that's what I'm gonna do just to round it out. So CV, Italy suspends mortgage payments amid lockdown, and I think that is a very, very wise thing to do. But I wonder, are they suspending rent payments? Because that's fine if you're in your own home and your mortgage payment is suspended while this outbreak is ongoing. But what about those that are renting? What happens to them? Just a thought. Anyway, and it says, just a reminder that 528 out of the 647 total cases in the USA are of unknown and unconfirmed origin, further proving that this is rapidly spreading under the radar. Source, CDC. And says, horrific news, hospitalization rate in Italy is 58% with 8% in intensive care, far above the World Health Organization estimates of 20% in China, official government data. Yeah, because you know why? You know why that is? Because China wasn't honest about the numbers. That's why. So yeah, Italy is saying 58% of those that have this require hospitalization, and 8% of those need intensive care. So yeah, that is far above what China was saying. And let's go over here. Says all the graphs suggest that Britain and France and Germany are all going to be exactly where Italy is in about 10 days time. I guess we'll see. I hope that's not prophetic, but I fear that, you know, they're watching this, they're watching it spread, and, you know, I think they've used Italy as a way to model this and to come up with real numbers, because obviously we weren't getting those from China. Worst struck Dutch town Tilburg main hospital randomly tested 301 employees who have not been to risk areas or been in contact with COVID-19 patients. 28 of them tested positive. That is concerning. Now, these are people that they haven't been to risk areas, and to their knowledge, they haven't been in contact with anyone that has the virus. Yet, 28 of them tested positive out of 301. And the CDC and Associated Public Health Labs only test 22 people on Monday. Yesterday, they only tested 22 people in the United States on Monday. There's something very, very wrong with that. Several Wall Street employees test positive for coronavirus. That's not good, and there is talk about them shutting down the floor of the stock market. Now, that doesn't mean the stock market shuts down. It doesn't mean that at all. I mean, most people buy and sell and trade. Like, you can get an app on your phone or do it any number of ways through your broker, what have you. But you don't need to be physically there on the floor. So yeah, that doesn't mean anything in terms of the stock market crashing or anything like that. It just means they may have to actually close the floor of the Wall Street Stock Exchange. So don't know. And Denmark, from 90 confirmed to 262 confirmed in 24 hours. More than doubled. More than doubled in 24 hours, rather, sorry. All right, and Massachusetts reports 51 new cases of CV. Governor declares state of emergency. And Harvard University has told students not to return to its campus in Cambridge, Massachusetts at the end of spring break on March 23rd, when all classes will be conducted online. So that's huge. And I guess students will be able to, complete their year or whatever by taking classes online. I mean, most universities have almost all classes online if you so desire to take them that way, but some students don't do well. I've always done well with anything that's distance or online because I'm self-directed, but a lot of students really need the interaction in the classroom to be able to ask questions and to hear lectures and so forth. So I don't know, it's obviously a good choice for a lot, but not for all students. Germany, 40,000 people expected in Leipzig's football stadium tonight. Expect high numbers of infections. Yes, I would say so, because 40,000 people are going to be there packed in a stadium. Just a couple of them has the virus. They could infect several people, who will in turn infect several other people, who will infect other people. You know how that goes. Remember that old, oh my gosh, I think it was a Herbal Essence shampoo commercial. And she said, I told 2 friends and they told 2 friends and so on and so on. And it has the people multiplying. That's what it's like. All right. So let's go over here. Health expert, CV lethality in Italy higher than China. Now, why is that? It isn't that it's hitting China any harder. No, it's that Italy is actually being forthright with their statistics, whereas China was not. So that is why you're seeing higher numbers in Italy. And we looked at that. And this by Dee Sun. Just in from KCB Public Health, 74 new COVID-19 cases today in just King County. Now, I'm not sure exactly where King County is. I know she is a reporter. Anyway, is that in Washington State? Not sure. Public Health is again strongly recommending the need for social distancing. And New York City coronavirus cases are coming in so intensely now, Mayor de Blasio says. So they're coming in intensely. Yeah, because if you've got a couple of people with it and they're, circulating around and they don't know they have it because they don't have any symptoms, well, they infect people who themselves aren't showing any symptoms and they don't know they have it, so they're infecting others. So yeah, it's exponential and it's going to go like this. It really is. So, all right. U.S. isn't prepared for outbreak. This is a coronavirus winter and we're in the first week, disease specialist says. Now, says the U.S. is not prepared for what is coming as COVID-19 spreads rapidly across the country. Public health and infectious disease expert Mishel Osterholm told CNBC, right now we're approaching this like it's the Washington, D.C. blizzard for a couple days. We're shutting down, Osterholm said. This is actually a coronavirus winter and we're in the first week, he added. The U.S. is not prepared for what is coming as COVID-19 spreads rapidly across the country. Public health and infectious disease specialist Michael Osterholm told CNBC on Tuesday the virus has surpassed the containment stage, he said, and the U.S. government is not responding appropriately for the magnitude of the spread the country will likely see. Right now, we're approaching this like it's Washington, D.C. blizzard for a couple days. We're shutting down. The director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota said in a Squawk Box interview, this is actually a coronavirus winter and we're in the first week. The U.S. is not containing the virus, Osterholm added, warning that it is substantially more contagious than some U.S. officials have warned. He said the most important thing is to protect people who are most at risk of dying from the virus, mostly older people and those with underlying health conditions. This is just going to keep spreading. We have we have to stop fooling people into thinking this is only by close contact where I have to be within 2 or 3 feet. We're going to see much more transmission, he said. There will be widespread transmission of this virus around the country, and what we have to do is keep people who are at high risk of having bad outcomes, older, underlying health conditions, from being exposed. COVID-19 has infected more than 755 Americans, according to Johns Hopkins University, and killed at least 26. Johns Hopkins data shows that the virus has spread to more than half of the states. And you got to realize, too, that they're not testing, not like high volume testing, which they should be doing. They should be doing high volume testing. In fact, I believe that anyone should be able to get tested just by asking for the test. Personally, I just think that that would be wise. And the president has let us know that they will be what was that? Oh, they're going to waive the co-fees, what do they call that? Co-pays on insurance plans and so forth. They're going to make sure that the insurance is covering the costs associated with COVID-19. So, yeah, it says Osterholm called on the U.S. officials to more clearly communicate to the American public the threat COVID-19 poses. What I find really concerning is we've really not set the agenda here for the American public, I think, in a realistic way, he said. The hardest hit states include New York, California, and Washington. Over the past 24 hours, the U.S. has confirmed at least 148 new cases, according to Johns Hopkins, marking a nearly 25% increase in cases overnight. We're going to see transmission for many, many more weeks to come, Osterholm said. We have to prepare for that. Osterholm's remark echoed that of a top official from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, who warned on Monday that many Americans will be exposed to COVID-19 over the next year or two, with many people in the U.S. getting sick. Dr. Nancy Messonnier, director of the CDC's National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, also recommended that people over 60 and anyone with chronic medical conditions buckle down for a lengthy stay at home, echoing Osterholm's remarks. The virus is capable of spreading easily and sustainably from person to person, and there's essentially no immunity against this virus in the population, she told reporters on a conference call, citing World Health Organization data that studied more than 70,000 cases in China. It's fair to say that as the trajectory of the outbreak continues, many people in the United States will at some point in time, either this year or next, be exposed to this virus, and there's a good chance many will become sick, she said. All right, now let's go back for the next few minutes and just read some more of these headlines. Norway reported 133 new cases, raising the country's total to 360, and state drawing a red line demarking a new Rochelle containment area. Details to come from State Department. DOH. DOH. I'm not sure what that stands for, because Department of Homeland Security would be DHS, using a National Guard to deliver food, clean public spaces. So this is the New Rochelle containment area. And if you are inside that containment area, would you be able to note it in the comments below and let us know what you have observed, if anything, and just let us know what's going on there, because it takes all of us. We're not there to see exactly what's happening, so it will take somebody that is presently there to let us know. All right, and let's come down here, and I like this quote. It says, "Everything we do before a pandemic will seem alarmist. Everything we do after will seem inadequate." That is M. Levitt News and Updates, and that is a quote, and I think it is a fantastic one because it's so true. Also, breaking, Massachusetts reports 51 new cases of coronavirus. Governor declares state of emergency. And British Member of Parliament Nadine Dorries has tested positive for coronavirus, according to the Times. And Congressman Don Bayer Democrat, Virginia, says he will self-quarantine after friend tested positive for coronavirus. He does not currently have any symptoms. And South Dakota reports first 5 cases, including 1 death. Jamaica has now reported its first case. France has reported 372 new cases today and 3 new deaths, raising total to 1,784 cases and 33 dead. At least 86 are seriously ill. Greece has closed all schools and universities across the country as number of CV cases reaches 89. Slovenia closes their border with Italy due to the CV. Austria closes border with Italy, bans indoor events with more than 100 people, and closes universities to stop the spread. And Spain has reported 415 new cases of CV and 5 new deaths so far today, raising total to 1,646 cases and 35 dead. And Italian Prime Minister Conte puts all of Italy on lockdown due to coronavirus, urges people to stay at home. Mongolia has reported similar lockdowns for rural cities, according to AFP. The capital, Ulaanbaatar, and all province centers are quarantined until March 16th. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker declares state of emergency due to the virus. Anyone entering Israel will have to be quarantined for at least 2 weeks, Netanyahu says, effectively stopping tourism. The measure will be in effect for at least 2 weeks. Now, I think what they're doing is pretty smart, if you ask me. Now, U.S. Congressman Paul Gosar says he and 3 staff members are under self-quarantine after sustained contact with a person with coronavirus at CPAC. None of them have symptoms. And this was in response to U.S. Senator Ted Cruz says he will be staying home this week after a person he had brief interaction with at CPAC tested positive for coronavirus. And this by Steve Lookner, a sampling of some updated testing numbers, total completed tests in the U.S. Now, this should alarm all of us. Missouri, 46. That's all the tests that they've performed. Louisiana, 35. Delaware, 17. Ohio, 17. Not enough, people. Not enough. Now, this is the last item, and that will be it for tonight. And this person, Sylvia Stringhinney, and this person is a social and life course epidemiologist, studies biological consequences of social inequalities, lives around the world. And so this person says, I may be repeating myself, but I want to fight this sense of security that I see outside of the epicenters as if nothing was going to happen here. The media in Europe are reassuring, politicians are reassuring, while there's little to be reassured of. And it says down here, she continues, this is the English translation of a post of another ICU physician in Bergamo, Dr. Danielle Machini. Read until the end. After much thought about whether or what to write about what is happening to us, I felt that silence was not responsible. I will therefore try to convey to people far from our reality what we are living in Bergamo in these days of COVID-19 pandemic. I understand the need to not create panic, but when the message of the dangerousness of what is happening does not reach people, I shudder. I myself watched with some amazement the reorganization of the entire hospital in the past weeks. When our current enemy was still in the shadows, the wards slowly emptied, elective activities were interrupted, intensive care was freed up to create as many beds as possible. All this rapid transformation brought an atmosphere of silence and surreal emptiness to the corridors of the hospital that we did not yet understand, waiting for a war that was yet to begin, and that many, including me, were not so sure would ever come with such ferocity. I will still remember my night call a week ago when I was waiting for the results of a swab. When I think about it, my anxiety over one possible case seems almost ridiculous and unjustified now that I've seen what's happening. Well, the situation now is dramatic, to say the least. The war has literally exploded and battles are uninterrupted day and night. We now need, that need for beds has arrived in all its drama. One after the other, the departments that had been emptied fill up at an impressive pace. The boards with the names of the patients of different colors depending on the operating unit are now all red, and instead of surgery you see the diagnosis, which is always the damned same: bilateral interstitial pneumonia. Now explain to me which flu virus causes such a rapid drama. Post continues comparing COVID-19 to flu link below, and while there are still people who boast of not being afraid by ignoring directions, protesting because their normal routine is temporarily put in crisis, the epidemiological, well, you know what I mean. Disaster is taking place, and there are no more surgeons, urologists, orthopedists. We are the only doctors who suddenly become part of every single team to face this tsunami that has overwhelmed us. Cases are multiplying. We arrive at a rate of 15 to 20 admissions per day, all for the same reason. The results of the swabs now come one after the other. Positive, positive, positive. Suddenly, the ER is collapsing. Reasons for the access always the same: fever and breathing difficulties, fever and cough, respiratory failure. Radiology reports always the same: bilateral interstitial pneumonia, bilateral interstitial pneumonia, bilateral interstitial pneumonia, all to be hospitalized. Someone already to be intubated and go to intensive care. For others, it's too late. Every ventilator becomes like gold. Those in operating theaters that have now suspended their non-urgent activity become intensive care places that did not exist before. The staff is exhausted. I saw the tiredness on faces that didn't know what it was despite the already exhausting workloads they had. I saw a solidarity of us who never failed to go to our internist colleagues to ask, what can I do for you now? Doctors who move beds and transfer patients, who administer therapies instead of nurses, nurses with tears in their eyes because we can't save everyone, and the vital parameters of several patients at the same time reveal an already marked destiny. There are no more shifts, no more hours. Social life is suspended for us. We can no longer see our families for fear of infecting them. Some of us have already become infected despite the protocols. Some of our colleagues who are infected also have infected relatives, and some of their relatives are already struggling between life and death. So be patient. You can't go to the theater, museums, or the gym. Try to have pity on the myriad of old people you could exterminate. We just try to make ourselves useful. You could do the same. We influence the life and death of a few dozen people. You, with yours, many more. Please share this message. We must spread the word to prevent what is happening here from happening all over Italy. I finish this by saying that I really don't understand this war on panic. The only reason I see is mask shortages, but there's no mask on sale anymore. We don't have a lot of studies, but is it panic? But is panic really worse than neglect and carelessness during an epidemic of this sort? So, yeah, and there is the post in Italian as well. So I think that's really good because I've been seeing the same here. People tend to have a normalcy bias of, oh, it won't be bad here. It's not going to get bad here. No, we'll be okay. We've always been okay here. Well, don't be so sure, and just take precautions. Prepare as much as you can, or as best you can. No, not everybody has an abundance of money to prepare, and I fully understand that. But you can get a few extras in. A jar of peanut butter will go a long way. It's got protein in it, and it's not that expensive. Beans and rice. You can live on a combination of beans and rice almost indefinitely. Ask me how I know that. I was in the rainforest in Mosquito Coast for a while, and that's what I lived on, beans and rice. And I came out perfectly healthy from the jungle. So anyway, Yeah, so you guys, please pay attention to everything that's happening around. It is serious. I know everybody keeps saying, oh, it's just a hoax, or it's being overblown, or it's just fear porn, or what have you. But please use your own head to, don't listen to me or to anyone else. Use your own sense of logic in this all, and do what you feel is appropriate. Certainly, I'm not telling people, oh, you know, if you don't go out and prepare, you're going to die. No, I'm not saying anything like that at all. I'm just saying it, you know, if you knew that there was a, you know, here in this part of the country, we have bears, and bears are not pleasant. And if you get attacked by one, you'll be lucky to survive. Anyway, if I knew there was a bear wandering around outside the house, I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't go out. Who would? If they knew that there was something prowling around waiting to devour you, would you go out? And I'm not saying you have to stay in, but please limit your exposure to this, and especially right now, because people are not getting tested. So it is circulating through the population. And I don't think that we're getting told the real numbers yet. I'm hoping that that will change. All right, well, that's it for tonight, guys. And I do have a few people to thank. And thank you guys so much. You really blew me away, and just your concern about Xander and your prayers. Oh my gosh, it really did bring tears to my eyes. I know I'm a big giant sap, but I just think it's extremely kind. Anyway, I want to thank the following. Robin, who also goes by Wall of Fire. Hey, that's a good name. And Heather H from Houston, Triple H. You know, the birthday girl. She just had a birthday on Saturday, and she is by far the largest donor, and a wonderful human being too, because I count her as a friend. And Lisa Farmer, and Grandma Patriot, Norma Susan Smith, and Mishel Georgeson. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Thank you guys so much. You guys were incredibly generous, and I appreciate it very, very much. And we picked up a new Patreon supporter, Mary Sander. Yay! Go Mary! All right. Well, that's it for tonight. I'm going to sign off. And remember, I will not be doing a video tomorrow night. I feel I need to tell you that because I know you guys look for it. And I don't want you to be sitting up and waiting for it and it doesn't come. So no video tomorrow, but I am going to do my best to bring you a doubleheader on Thursday. All right, guys, you have a wonderful night. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed. Keep washing your hands, and I don't know. What else was I going to say? I don't know. I'm too tired to think of it. I guess just, you know, keep seeking truth because, well, you know, for obvious reasons. All right. Good night, guys.